Like I said, when Lance Corporal Kebe came in and gave me the signal to come out, and then I came out through the back door, and then he disclosed to me that they are ready, for the mission. I told him what. He said, well, it's today that they are going to replace the council, that they want to remove that council, the members of the council, and then put in new ones. Thereafter, I asked him, who are those officers? He said, all officers, and then the men of Union Barracks. Then I went furthermore to ask him, is the CEO aware of it? Then he told me that the CEO was not part of it, that he is not part of the whole game, and that the men were ready, the officers were already waiting for me. So since he has already informed me that I should go to the camp and assemble the men for the mission.
You stated previously that he didn't tell you where the instructions were coming from, but it is correct from your testimony that he said the officers are waiting for you.
Yes, he said the officers were waiting for me to go and then, assemble the men for the mission.
Did you assume then that he was sent by the officers?
At that point in time, I actually I don't know, because I cannot tell. Yes, he only told me that yes, the officers were waiting for me and for me to go and then mobilize the men for the mission.
Did you do as he said?
I did not.
What did you do next?
At that point, that was the time, in fact, I took things very seriously. Seriously. Because one, being an RSM, responsible for discipline and orderliness in the barracks, to see a Lance Corporal coming to face me and then tell me that I should go and then assemble the men for a mission. Then, well, like I said, I assume that service has just thrown upside down. Then Lance Corporals are now coming to be commanders, giving instructions. I said, okay. Then I told him, okay, go, I am coming. So immediately when he wheeled, I hurriedly, closed everything. And then from there, I called Jallo.
From there you called who?
I called my neighbor, who happens to be Sergeant Major M.A. Jallo.
Can you give us his full names?
Mawadu, the A, I don't know whether represent Aliu, fullers. They have more than 2 names or 3 names. But I think either Aliu or Amadou or whatever, but it's M.A. Jallo. I called him, and then he took the telephone, he picked up the telephone. I told him that, sir, I'm leaving the camp because I've been advised by the military police to leave the camp immediately. So he said, okay. So I closed the door of my house and then stepped out. But immediately when I stepped out, I looked around, I saw Kebe standing with Basiru Kamara, just about 50 meters, waiting for me. So I called him again, Kebe, yes. Are you waiting for me? He said, yes. I said, no, go. I'm just dropping something. Then I'll follow you to the camp.
Who was Basiru Kamara? Can you give us his rank and his position at the time?
Basiru Kamara was a corporal and a driver at the transport unit. So he was with him at that time. So when I told him that, okay, go, I'll follow you, I'm just dropping something. I'll meet you in the camp. They started moving. So as soon as they started moving, I just dashed and then got into the buses. At that time, my apartment it's just close to a busy area. So I got into the bushes and find my way.
So you left the camp?
Actually, yes. I left the camp, walked through the bushes to Banjulindi. Then finally, I got myself in Lamen.
As the RSM of the camp, how did you feel leaving your men behind?
It could be useful because if you, think about the security, and you are not directly dealing with your commander, so there was a total breakdown of communication. So obviously, I cannot stand to take instruction from a lance corporal. And for me to go to the camp, it was not safe for me at that time. I don't know who was there and what was their motive.
So where did you proceed to?
I proceeded to Lamen.
Where was Lamen?
Lamen, Kombo Lamen, just after Banjulindi.
Was that where your home was?
Yes. That's where I have my, family compound. So whilst in Lamen, I was in the compound. But later, I had to abandon the compound based on an advice from my brother's wife, who is now late, may her soul rest in peace, that is Bintu Koli, who in fact looked at me. I was uncomfortable. He said, look, is it advisable for you to be here? Maybe they can. When I went, I explained the whole story to her. So she said to me that, is it safe for you to be here? Because knowing that some of your colleagues, they know the house here, they could come for you. So I put one and one together. I said, okay. So I had to abandon the compound and then, lodge somewhere else.
So where did you go?
Actually, there was a compound nearby. And at that very day, there was nobody living there. At that time, there was nobody living there. So I just jumped and then went in there, stayed there the whole night up to early hours of the following day.
Did you do anything the following day?
Say again, I beg your pardon?
Did you do anything the following day?
Yes, I was there up to early hours, around 6 a.m. Right, I came back to the compound briefly. Then I decided to, return back to the barracks.
Why did you make that decision after leaving the barracks? Because you were fearful for your safety. Why did you decide to go back to the barracks?
One, after realizing that the whole of that night, there was no activity that can cause any cause of alarm to the general public, or while at the camp. I said, well, as a soldier, let me just go back and see, because it's the camp that I belong to. Let me go back and see what actually, was going on at the time.
Did you eventually get to the camp?
Yes. I went back to the camp, taking the same way I went. I did not use the main road highway. Scam is through the bushes. Knowing the direction of my house, I navigated up to just directly opposite my house, just cross and enter the house.
What time was this?
It was around 6:30, between 6:30 and 7 o'clock.
What did you do next?
As soon as I got to my house, I opened. The first thing that I did was I picked up the telephone and called Jallo again, that is Otu Jallo again, to confirm if he was there. Then he told me yes. When I called, he picked up the telephone and responded in the affirmative that he's still there. I said, okay, I am back. So that's where I stopped with him. Then I started to dress up in uniform.
When you finished dressing up, what did you do?
After when I finished dressing up, then I called him to see if we could go back, go to the camp. For him, it's like he was, posted at Fajara Barracks as the chief clerk. So before the 11/11, he used to travel from Yundum to Fajara Barracks, and every morning a vehicle comes from Fajara Barracks to pick him up. So for him, it's like he was ready to go back to Fajara Barracks. When I told him that we can, I think it's ready, it's time for us to go back to the camp, he said, well, it's okay, no problem. So that's how we all moved out.
Are you saying that he was going to Fajara Barracks and you were proceeding to Yundum?
Yes.
Tell us what happened next.
As soon as we moved out of our apartments and then started going, unfortunately, we saw Lance Corporal Malafikor with a rifle, and then when he saw us, he was surprised, and then cocked his rifle, and then asked us hands up, halt and hands up. We complied, and then he asked us where we were coming from. In fact, I was the one who told him that no, we are coming from our houses. Then he said, double up. Keep your hands up and then you double up. So both of us, Jallo and I, we maintain our hands, up, and then started doubling up. So this Lance Corporal, as we were doubling, he trailed behind us at gunpoint, up to the guard room.
Can you just tell us what you meant by he cocked his weapon?
Cocking a rifle is military terms. Now, the mechanism that is involved there is like, once you cock, that is getting the working parts of the rifle back and release them forward. So it is a process of making a rifle to be ready for firing. So in that process, there is that long, metallic box that is attached to the rifle, is called a magazine, that contains the rounds. So once you cock, you get the working parts earlier. As you release it, it will take along a round and push it inside the chamber. Then it is ready to fire. So if you squeeze the trigger, the round will move out.
So he was ready to shoot at you if necessary?
Very well.
You also mentioned that he asked you to double up. Can you please explain to us civilians?
The word double up is like to double your walking pace. If you are moving like this, tuck, 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 then you double it. Tuck, 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 tuck. So meaning that you are running. So that's what you mean by, say, double up.
So this is another instance of a junior officer giving you instructions and in fact making you run?
Very well.
So you had your hands up and you were running under a gunpoint?
Yes, ma'am.
What time was this?
It was in the morning, between the hours of 7:30 and 8 o'clock.
What happened next?
We doubled from Bahamas, accommodation line, to the guard room, straight to the guard room, because he asked us, we have to move up to the guard room. So we were being doubled from the Bahamas, Jallo and I, to the guard room.
When you got to the guard room, what did you observe?
First, the environment was chaotic. We saw a lot of soldiers with their weapons, both different phases, because the environment was chaotic, and then we were asked to, enter the guard room. So when we entered the guard room, an order was given, but actually I don't know who gave out the orders. That is to say, we are to be locked up. So once we enter in the guard room, we are being searched, I could remember Jallo was holding a notebook, a diary sort of. He was holding a diary.
Who is Jallo? Sorry to interrupt. Jallo.
That is Sergeant Major Jallo, M.A. Jallo. He is now the Director of Intelligence. So we were being, processed at the guard room, searched, and finally, pushed into the cells.
Can you just go back a little bit? When you were at the guard room, did you see anybody that you knew?
Yes. As soon as we entered in the guard room, the first person that I saw was the duty profer, who happens to be Kopul Bojame. Because he being the duty profer, at least I expect him to be there. So, but the guard room was full. And you could see a lot of soldiers there. So, I cannot remember who and who, but where people were, people were so talking, all over. But I could remember, somebody giving instructions that let them be locked up, be detained.
Were there other soldiers from other barracks apart from Yundum?
Yes.
The sergeant, the couple Buba Jame you mentioned, was the same provost and soldier who had repeatedly warned you before. He's the same person you're mentioning?
Yes.
So when you got into the guard room, you said an order was given for you to be detained. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what happened next?
Yes, we were being detained, and as soon as I entered the cells, I found the CO inside. So,
can you just tell us who the CEO is again?
Pardon?
The name of the CEO, just remind us.
That is Captain Marong, Maudu Marong. As soon as I entered, I found Captain Marong there. And then, as soon as he saw me, he said, RSM, how comes that this thing was happening and I did not inform me? So we were just posing inside, and then the door was locked. But when he told me that, I said, sir, I sent a driver looking for you last night.
And that was Jallo, the driver you mentioned, with the same provost couple, Buba Jame, who went to search for him. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Who gave the order for your detention?
Like I said, I cannot remember. I don't know who must have given the orders to be locked up. So, and then when Marong prompted me with that question, that is to say, how comes that this thing was taking place, I did not inform you. I said, sir, I sent somebody to inform you, and then I have made all possible efforts. And then based on that, I think my action is in accordance with one of the sections in the Gambia Armed Forces Act. Chairman, can you please allow me to quote this section?
Council, is that okay? It's okay with us.
It's fine. Can you just perhaps quote it in summary?
Okay.
Thank you.
My action is in accordance with section 47E of the Gambia Armed Forces Act 1985. That reads, and I quote, a person being aware of an actual or intended mutiny does not without delay inform his superior officer thereof, commits an offense, and in conviction is liable to face various charges. That is in the Gambia Armed Forces Act 1985. And yet again, if you look at the Criminal Code of the Laws of the Gambia, Volume 3, under concealment of treason, Section 36A, it stated that, and I quote, a person who, knowing that any other person intends to commit treason, does not give information thereof within reasonable dispatch to a minister, a magistrate, a police officer, or a member of the Gambia Armed Forces, commits an offense. So it is based on that. I acted in that manner because I know if I had not acted in that manner, I could have been hooked up by these same sections at the end of the 11/11 episode.
So what you're trying to say is that basically your efforts to locate your CO, Marong, was in line with what was necessary for you to do under the law.
Very well.
Can we just move on? You went into the detention room, you met Marong, and he asked you the question. And what happened next? What did you observe in the detention room?
Actually, whilst in the detention cell, the first thing that I noticed was all the cells were full with people that I assumed to be soldiers or officers. But Marong, I found him sitting on the corridor, on the floor. And then together with Fafanyang, Sergeant Fafanyang was also seated on the corridor. Fafanyang, then you have Lieutenant Ablaiba, Lieutenant Ablaiba was also on the floor seated. Then obviously I went inside with W2 Jalo, M.A. Jalo. So these were the people that I realized seen on the corridor of the cells.
So you were not put into the cells, you were detained along the corridors?
Yes, simply for the fact that the cells were full. So we were just parked inside, and then I saw Marong seated on the floor along the corridor. So we also joined him and then sat there.
How many people were in the cells?
Oh, what I mean by the cells were full, definitely I cannot quantify the figure.
Can you just briefly describe the conditions of the cells, apart from it being filled to capacity? Was there any other, anything else that you noticed about the condition of the detention cells?
Yes, the cells were constructed in such a way that it's like a long structure like that. The corridor, then you have cells on the sides. Then the last cell happens to be the toilet and bathroom. Then the remaining, cells, that's where they put other officers. So simply for the fact that they were all full, we decided to sit on the corridor.
What did you notice about the people that were actually detained with you? What did you notice about their appearance or about their condition?
Counsel, to give you the real fact, there was total frustration because everybody was quiet. I thought maybe they were, thinking about their fates. And even myself, talking to you now, immediately when I got into that cell and then the door was locked, the only time that I spoke was when I responded to Marong, but thereafter I started thinking about what is coming next. So everybody was quiet inside.
What was the appearance of other detainees? What were they wearing, for example?
Beg your pardon?
The appearance of the other detainees, what were they wearing?
Actually, yes, we found them undressed in pants, especially Ablaiba, the one I saw sitting on the corridor. Yes, most of them were in pants.
What do you mean they were in pants? Can you just describe further? Were they fully dressed, half dressed? I mean, what did they have on or what did they not have on?
Their shirts were being removed, no headdress, trousers, no, except pants.
So they were virtually naked except for their underwear?
Yeah.
How long did you stay in detention?
Actually, it is maybe 1 hour or 1 hour thereabout. I cannot vividly remember.
So what happened after that hour?
After that, the council members came in. So when they came, it was Sabali that I noticed started talking, and then
Just give us his full names and
Captain
perhaps,
Sana Sabali.
was he with someone else?
Yes, with the council members, Yankuba Ture, Sadibu Haidara, Edward Singate, captain, and for both of them captain. So he came to the guard room, and then first he called on the CEO. Where's the CEO? He asked the CEO. Then the CEO responded from the cells. He said, yes, sir. Then he gave order for him to be taken out. So he called me, my rank, RSM, yes. So thereafter, then he gave instruction for Otu Jallo, M.A. Jallo, to be released. And then alongside with 2 other soldiers, which I cannot remember vividly. So in a nutshell, we are about 5 of us who were released at that instant.
Who did he give these instructions to release you from your cells?
I could remember Bachsamba, opening the cells for us. He was the one I saw holding the keys.
Can you give us his rank?
Lance Corporal Bachsamba Jallo.
What was his position in the army, or who was he?
Lance Corporal Bachsamba Jallo was the driver to Captain Edward Singate, the Minister of Defense.
Was he in Yundum Barracks at any point? Did he work at the barracks where you were at any point?
Oh, sir, ma?
Bachsamba Jallo.
Actually, when we were in the cells, you wouldn't know what is happening outside. You will not see anybody who was outside. And then moreover, we are made to sit down. So, what was happening outside, I cannot tell you. The only thing is, when I moved out of the cells, I saw him with the keys, and then I assumed that, well, he was the one who opened the cells for us to come out.
Perhaps you didn't understand my question very well. I was just asking whether at some point was he at Yundum Barracks as a soldier? Was he a soldier at Yundum Barracks at some point before he became the driver to Captain Edward Singate?
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Yes, Bachsamba Jallo was a driver at the transport unit prior to the military takeover.
All right. When you said you were released from detention by the vice chairman as well as other council members, were you questioned after that?
I was not. They just released us and then say you can go.
Did that apply to all the other soldiers that you were released with, the officers and the soldiers you were released with?
Yes, that is Captain Marong, Otu Jallo, and myself with the others, personnel. When we were asked to go, we went. And then I just crossed over to my office.
And what did you do when you got to your office?
That situation definitely, it got me frustrated, and then it was beyond my imagination. And then I went straight to my office. I sat down, thinking over, my experience, what, happened to me, and then also what I was seeing,
Did you observe any other senior members of the army apart from the council members at the time you were being released?
Whilst I was in my office, although yes, the council members were there, but immediately when we were released, they all moved towards the anteroom. Yes, that's where they moved to the anteroom. So at that point in time, whilst in my office, you could see a lot of soldiers there, so it became difficult for me to, focus on who was around there. The only thing is I was just in my office, under that terrible mood. I mean, thinking about, what I went through within that short period of time, and then also what was happening, the unusual thing that was happening on the ground.
Can you just share with us what those feelings were, or what those thoughts were, just in summary?
Yeah, first thing is I got demoralized from the, incidents, the activities that I underwent, that Lance Corporal coming to give me instruction to go and then do an action, and then also a Lance Corporal coming to, halt me and then get my hands up, make me double from Bahamas to the guard room, and then the humiliation that I got at the guard room, inside the guard room, and then finally we locked up. So, a lot of things culminated, and then, actually I feel I was humiliated, and somebody who was, appointed to be responsible of discipline. So now, junior ranks, malhandling him like that. So, where do I put myself now?
Did you eventually see Marong, the CEO?
When I stayed in my office for a while, because of the mere fact that Marong asked me a question whilst we were in the cells, that how comes that this thing happens and then he did not inform me. At that point in time, I could not explain to him in detail what transpires. So when I was in my office, then it came to my mind that, okay, let me go and then meet him so that I will be able to explain to him exactly what happened during that night and then prior to that.
Did you meet him?
Yes, when I went to the office, I did not meet him in his office. I was told, when I asked, I was told that he went to the anteroom. So I followed him there. When I went to the anteroom, I met the council members just in front of the anteroom. Then I saw Sana Sabali talking on the phone. Then I saw Marong, leaning on one of the vehicles. Everybody was quiet now, listening to, Marong, Captain Sana Sabali. He was talking, but the person that he was talking to, I don't know.
Did you overhear what he was saying? And how far from him were you at this point?
Where I stood and then because it was the CEO that I was following up. So I went to the CEO just about 2 paces before him, about 2 steps before the CEO I stood, because I made them quiet. So I did not talk to him. I only stand there, also listening. Then Sana is almost about 6 or so, 5-6 meters, to 10 meters away from us. All what I heard him saying, although there were yes sirs that he altered. That is yes sir, and then the rest okay. Then finally, we will do that exactly to set example. We will do that exactly to set example. Those are the words that he altered finally before he cut off the communication.
Do you know who he was speaking to?
I do not know. But the mere fact is that he was, at that time, the number 2 person of this country, that is the vice chairman. And for him to talk to his subordinates and then alter that word, sir, yes sir, it is unusual. Probably I assume that he was talking to somebody, of a higher rank than his. So maybe probably he was talking to the president at that time.
The chairman?
The chairman, yes.
And the chairman would be the only person,
yes,
that he would say yes sir to, or would be the only person that would be higher up in the chain of command to him?
Exactly.
It could only be one person that he could have been talking to, and that was Yahya Jammeh.
Exactly.
Can you tell us, after he said, he uttered the words that, yes, we'll do this to set an example, did he do anything else after he uttered those words?
Whilst I was standing, and then immediately when he finished the conversation, the next thing that I heard was like, where is Fafanyang? Sergeant Yang? Get him out. So, hearing that, and this is somebody that, you know, definitely was a close friend of mine. I know if his wife is watching me on the listening to my narration, she will attest to that, because we are very close. Fatso. When I heard Sana saying, where is Fafanyang? Bring him. I said to myself, I cannot stand to witness, you know, whatever was going to happen to Fafanyang. So I decided to go back to my office. So whilst I was going back to my office, I met up with Bach Jallo, some Lance Corporal Bach Jallo, you know, escorting Fafanyang, telling him to double up. You know, he was with somebody that Bachelor I could not remember. So telling him to double up. So as he was going towards the anteroom, I found back to my office. So I was in the office.
Did you have an opportunity to observe Fafanyang and his demeanor, or what state he was in at that point when he was being led away?
Fafanyang, the mood in which he was completely frustrated. I don't know in his mind what he was thinking, but his appearance was like he's somebody who was completely frustrated, and well, I don't know, but he was completely, you know, the hope wasn't there.
Considering the words of Captain Sanasabali, that they were going to set an example, and then you see that Fafanyang was being led out, can you tell us what you assumed was going to happen to him, or what did you think was going to happen to him, considering the context and who he was speaking to?
At the first place, I knew that something bad was going to happen, but in which form, I will not be able to tell you. I cannot tell you. But, you know, wherever you hear a soldier telling somebody that I'm going to set an example, even in mere punishment, it's like he will punish you to the maximum. If I should stand as an RSM and tell you that I'm going to set an example on you, meaning that whatever I'm going to do unto you, for others to see, nobody will venture to repeat the same act that you have done. So I will make sure that I punish you to the maximum. So in that sense, what was, you know, planned for him to be set as an example, actually I don't know. But I know something was, you know, put aside to set as an example.
So what did you do? Where did you go next?
I went to my office, so thinking the whole episode. But within some couple of minutes, I had gunshots. You know, when I had the gunshots, I felt very bad. Very, very bad. Then one of the provosts said, let me answer to the CO. That is Lance Corporal Tamba. We call him Nimble Idrissa. Sir, answer to the CO. I grabbed my pay stick. Actually, pay stick is like, it's a stick, as the word implies. It's a design, you know, stick that is mainly purposely used by warrant officers or drill sergeants or RSMs, you know, for ceremonies. And its main purpose is measuring distance within the ranks or within, you know, troops. So I grabbed my pay stick and then I went. When I went, the first thing that I observed on the CEO, I saw him well, but I saw the CEO holding his specs on his left hand and then he was wiping his, face. So he did not talk to me.
Can you tell us why the CEO was wiping his face?
He felt bad. He was shocked.
Was he crying?
If I said he was crying, I've not heard any, crying sound from him. And all what I saw was he was wiping his face, maybe clearing tears or so.
Yes, was he wiping tears?
No, someone who does like this and then, with his handkerchief, does like this and wipe the face. He was, clearing some tears and then also trying to make sure that the face goes back to normal.
Do you recall how many gunshots you heard when you were at the office?
I know it's more than one. So, but how many, I don't know. I cannot tell.
So just go ahead to tell us what happened after you saw the CEO wiping his face.
Whilst with the CEO, he did not talk to me. And then when I glanced, towards the cookhouse end, I saw the body of Afanyang lying on the floor.
And did you, at that point, understand that the gunshots that you heard must have killed him?
Very well.
What did you observe about his body?
One, he was lying on his back. And then I could see the blood, coming out from the back.
Sorry,
and I could not bear it.
That wasn't very clear. Where was the blood coming from?
The blood was coming underneath. He was lying on his back, and then the blood was coming underneath. And I cannot bear it. I could not bear it, seriously speaking. So I decided to move out.
How far were you away from the body?
By judging distance, probably you're talking about almost 10 meters. Although he was lying down close to a truck.
And where was that truck parked? Near?
Anyway, the truck was parked just not directly the anteroom, but adjacent towards the cookhouse. That's where the truck was parked.
What did you do next after you saw Fafanyang's body?
Like I said, I could not imagine, and then in fact could not bear it. I said, well, it's very sad. So I decided to, withdraw back to my office.
Did you by any chance see anybody near his body lingering around that area?
No.
So what happened when you got back to your office?
I was in my office, very sad at that moment. I had a very bad, mood at that morning because I cannot imagine what I saw. And not long ago when I saw the council members leaving.
At the point that you saw Fafanyang's body, just to take you back, did you see anybody by the name of Private Kohli around that vicinity?
No, I cannot remember, because immediately when I saw that, there are situations where sometimes if you are in that mood, you can be looking at a person like this, you don't recognize him.
Did you see Alaji Kanyi?
Alaji Kanyi, yes, he was around there.
At the point that Captain Sanasabali was actually speaking on the phone, you were around, CEO Marong was around. Who else was around then?
The
at
council,
that point?
yeah, the rest of the council members were there.
And who else? Was there anyone else? Were there Oddlies with them?
The Oddlies were there. All the Oddlies were there. Well, I cannot be able to tell you who and who, or the, obviously Sambajalo was there, JCB was there, I think Suso.
Sorry,
I cannot,
Suso?
something like, is it Al-Fushedi?
Any other senior officers in the military apart from the council members? Was Babukar Jata there?
Babukar Jata, that morning. Sorry, it's very hard for me to determine that. I cannot remember.
Can you tell us who JCB was? What's his full name?
John C. Bendy.
John C. Mendy.
Yes.
Whose Oddly was he?
He was an Oddly to Captain Sanasabali.
And the other Oddlies, you said Bach Samba.
Bach Samba was never an Oddly. He was, yeah. Bach Samba was never an Oddly. He was a driver to Sanasabali. Sorry, Captain Edward Singate. Sorry.
All right, let's just go back. You were in your office, and what happened? What did you do?
When I was in my office, and under that terrible mood, then finally I saw these council members moving out. So I decided to go and meet the CEO, Captain Marong, actually to explain myself what transpires during that night. When I went into the CEO's office, well, the situation was like not favorable, because CEO, his reaction was like he was totally against that action. Because immediately when I enter, as I started talking to him to say, sir, before I explain what I wanted to tell him, he started telling me that, you see, what these people have done is totally against the law. I mean, they could have, detained these people and then take them before a court of law for the court to decide on their fate. Sorry. It is totally, he was totally against it. Totally, that one, I know maybe probably he is watching me from anywhere he is, and he can attest to it, and I can confirm. He was the first officer that I had, condemning the action of these council members. But I don't know whether probably he made it clear to them, but between me and him, that morning he was totally against it.
You mentioned that you saw the council members moving out. What do you mean?
Moving out of camp, going back to where they came from.
Do you know what happened to the body of Fafanyang?
While it's in my office, I don't know anything about the body of Fafanyang. I don't know anything about the body of Fafanyang.
The last time you saw the body was when it was lying near the truck, near the anteroom. That was the last time you saw the body.
Yes.
So what time was it when they moved out, the council members?
It was, I cannot remember, but it was around in the morning, getting to the noon time.
You mentioned that CEO Marong was against the murder of Fafanyang, said it was illegal, he condemned it. Do you know whether before Fafanyang was actually killed, any of the senior officers either tried to prevent it from happening or condemned that action?
No. I don't know.
So what happened next after the council members left?
Yes, I said, like I said, after when the council members left, I went to the CEO and then saw the condition in which he was. But it was in this, I went back to my office and, we allowed things to happen as it is, as it was. And we started, doing our things. But it was really sad, very sad, that day.
Did anything of significance happen after that? Did you notice anything after you went back to your office or hear anything?
All what I know was later in the day, around in the afternoon, actually, was it around 2, 3 o'clock or thereabout, the council members came back again, led by Sana Sabari. And then when they came, this time around, okay, yes, I can remember seeing the army commander, Major Baukar. But this time around, he did not come with Dennis Coker, because Dennis Coker came with him in the morning. But I cannot remember seeing him coming with anybody, apart from the council members. So the council members came in back to the camp.
Can you just name which council members were present?
All right. Captain Sana Sabari, Captain Edward Singate, Captain Haidara, and then Captain Yankova Toure, together with their orderlies.
And after they arrived, what happened?
After when they entered the camp, they went straight to the anteroom as usual, their point of call. So they went there. For a while, then thereafter, I saw a Land Rover being driven to the guardroom end, parked. I mean, like usual, the soldiers were there because the guardroom is just close to the QRF, and then the QRF, that's where the soldiers normally hibernate, rest, sort of. So all of a sudden, when that move was made, you could see soldiers, converging at the guardroom. Yeah, the vehicle was parked there, and I saw officers being removed from the cells.
Can you just give us a brief description about the Land Rover? Can you describe it to us?
This particular Land Rover is a single cabin Land Rover. Is it a single cabin? Sorry. Although yes, it's a green Land Rover, but whether single, no, it's not a single, it's a double cabin sort of, double cabin Land Rover with a military color, that is military green. Actually, I cannot remember the serial number. It was driven and then parked by the guardroom.
What happened next after the Land Rover was parked there?
All right, when the Land Rover was parked there, I could see officers being released from the cells, one after the other, and then boarded the Land Rover.
These were the same officers that you had left at the cells after you had been released?
Very well.
Can you just please give us a list of these officers that were being removed from detention?
These officers were Lieutenant Jibril Say, Lieutenant Ablaiba, Lieutenant Buba Jame, Lieutenant Bakari Mane, Yancho, Kidet Silla. But actually, what happened was when I was in my office, it was very hard, very difficult for you to see clearly outside because of people were so gathered, at that place there. But later, I was able to get the clear picture of what actually transpires. So the officers, I forgot some of their names. I think Officer Lieutenant Lamin Jaju, Lieutenant Dabo. Well, these are the people that I could remember.
So you were watching these events from your office? From a window? Was the door open? I mean, how were you actually seeing what was happening?
Please allow me to orientate you blindly to the setup at the guard room. You see, the guard room, once you enter in the guard room, it's on your right. So directly opposite it was my office. And then the distance from the guard room door and my office door, probably it's about 5 meters. So you can see, people gathering, occupying that, 5 meter distance. And you could only see through the window, you understand? So it was a little bit difficult for me to actually see clearly what, was going on or who was doing what.
Would you say that you had a clear view of the officers that were actually being led away?
No. I don't have a clear view because of the people that were, in front of my office.
So how do you know that these were the officers that were being led away? Because you just mentioned their names.
Yes, like I said, their names were being called one after the other, but the person that was calling their names, I cannot remember. Their names were being called one after the other, and then, into the Land Rover.
Do you know if there was any process that was followed prior to them being released and put in the Land Rover? Was there any process that was followed? How was it done, basically, from their release from the cells to the Land Rover?
No, I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Apart from the gunshots that you heard when Fafanyang was being killed, did you hear any other gunshots at any other point during that day?
No.
That you know?
Apart from the gunshots of Fafanyang. Are you talking about the whole day or at that point in time?
The whole day?
Yes. That was around in the evening.
Can you give us some more details about that?
When the Land Rover was parked and the officers were asked to board, and they took them, for me, I thought they were going to Mile 2, because at that time, Mile 2 was the order of the day. You'll just wake up and then, realize that somebody was arrested and then parked in Mile 2 or maybe in the cells. So to me, it's like they were taking them to Mile 2.
This was after they were being boarded?
Asked to board the vehicle.
The Land Rover?
Yes.
Yes, please proceed.
I proceed? Thank you.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So they were taken to Mile 2. Sorry, they were taken out of the camp. And then to me, it's like they were taking them to Mile 2. And then I was in the office. But prior to that, something happened. Can I reverse back?
Yes, please. Go
yes. You could notice that immediately when this episode took place, that is the 11/11, there was a press release that was made on Radio Gambia by Sana Sabali, notifying the general public of what has happened, and the situation was under control, that people should, embark on their normal daily routines. People are free to go, wherever they feel like going. And then thereafter, I think the command feel that it was a normal situation. So I think the CO was informed of, the unit continuation of their preparation for the Remembrance Sunday. So when I went there to brief him about my experience during the night, his reaction was like he was totally, against their action, then that was the time he informed me that the rehearsal was we have to continue the preparation for the Remembrance Sunday. I think that was the time that I started also getting things so that at least the Remembrance Sunday can take place. So when these people when they took these officers, I was in my office, obviously. Now thinking about getting the men together for the actual parade. Secondly, now that all these officers were arrested, it is like the composition of my parade is being crippled. Where will I get officers for the parade? So all these things were, some challenges, facing me. And then I had only one day before the parade, the actual parade. So I was thinking about this thing when all of a sudden, I don't know whether it took 1 hour or more than that, I started seeing vehicles with full lights entering the camp again. I said, okay, maybe probably they are coming for another issue. Vehicles started entering. As they enter, they take a right turn towards the anteroom. So all of a sudden, when I saw the Land Rover, covered with leaves at the back. So when I saw the Land Rover covered with leaves at the back, and I saw legs just there, I said, Allah Akbar. I hold my head and then just sat down. I became frustrated. It was beyond my imagination, and then things got worse.
Was this the same Land Rover you saw leave with the detained soldiers that came back with bodies with leaves on top of them?
Very well.
Was there any soldier escorting those bodies? Any soldier in the truck, in the Land Rover?
No. When they were going, I could see Alaji Kanye behind the Land Rover. To be frank. When they were going out, I saw Alaji Kanye behind the Land Rover, and they were moving out. So, but when they came in there, no, I could not see any soldier, but it's only the leaves that I saw at the back of the Land Rover. And the situation got worse.
Did you see the bodies that were underneath the leaves? Because you mentioned that you saw legs sticking out. Did you actually see the bodies?
If you stand at a distance, you will not see the bodies because of the leaves. But actually, you could see, legs. I could see one or two legs, and that's in fact prompted me to assume that a catastrophe has happened, that the officers that were being rounded up here, and they are no more. So the whole thing of my preparation and then also the situation got worse.
Can you just clarify what you mean by there was a big catastrophe? What happened to these officers who had been taken away?
There are no more.
What do you mean by that?
Dead.
Do you know what happened to them? Do you know how they ended up dead?
That one I don't know. But they went alive and came in dead. So what must have transpired out there, that one, now wow, it's beyond my knowledge.
When they left alive, who did they go with? And when they arrived dead, who did they come with?
There was a convoy with a lineup of vehicles. The number I cannot quantify, I cannot tell. That went out, with them. And it is that same convoy that came in.
Who did the convoy consist of?
The members of the council, precisely the vice chairman with other ministers, defense, interior, local government.
Any other senior officers or soldiers who went?
Well, yes, with their orderlies. And then also the army commander also followed them, Colonel Bab Kajara.
Can you name the orderlies?
The orderlies. Actually, it is. The orderlies, I know they went with their orderlies, seriously.
Do you know who the orderlies were? Each of the council
Well,
members?
for Sabasana Sabali, he always goes with JCB Mandy, and then Singate, the word Singate. Actually, for their orders, I cannot tell.
You
Because they are not part of my, soldiers on the command, so I'm not that much familiar with them, so that much.
You mentioned Edward Singate.
Yeah, what I mean is his orderlies, to be more precise. This is what I was in fact thinking. Who was his orderlies? I know his orderlies and then bodyguards used to be like is it I don't know, Churo? That is something Ture. Used to be his orderly.
Do you know whether his driver, Corporal Bachsamba Jallo, was with him?
Yes, Bachsamba Jallo was a driver.
Yes.
He's not an orderly, was a driver.
Indeed.
And he was with him.
And you mentioned JCB Mendy as the orderly of
Yes.
the vice chairman.
Yes.
Was he there?
He was there.
Can you tell us if you remember any other person who was there? Was Kanye there?
This is why I said, Kanye, when they were leaving, he was the one at the back of the Land Rover.
So when they were coming back, did you see him when they came back?
When they came back, I cannot remember seeing him at the back of the Land Rover, but he must have been within the vehicles, inside the vehicles.
Can you just tell us which council members actually came back?
I can remember Captain Sanasabali. I think, let me not assume here, please. I know the council members came in back, but whether all of them came back and you have others, I cannot. That one, it's very difficult for me to determine that.
So
But
apart
I know,
from the
I know
vice,
Sorry?
apart from the vice chairman, you cannot identify any other council member.
Yeah,
who
this is what I'm
present?
saying. Sabana Sabali, he came back. I think they all came back because, like, it's a mission that they went to carry it out. So at least they have to come back so that a debriefing can be done. I think they all came back. They all came back.
Can you remember any other soldier or any other senior officer of the military who was present when they came back, when the council members came back?
Yeah. I know the Miami commander must have come back with them, came back with them since they returned back to the camp. Well, I think so, the army commander.
Let's go back to the bodies that you saw. Did you observe anything about the bodies? Did you see anything?
Like I said earlier on, when they came, then I was in my office. And then they went towards the anteroom. In fact, that prompted another wave of movement by soldiers who were so curious to get a glimpse of what was happening from the QRF and the entire area of the guard room. Soldiers, in fact, started moving towards the anteroom. So when I saw that, I just picked up my basic and then went there. So when I went, I could see the Land Rover was parked, having leaves on at the back, and clearly I confirmed that. Well, that's a real situation where life were lost, and I felt very bad, very, very, very bad, definitely.
Did you confirm that all the detained soldiers who had been taken away were actually dead?
At that time, I will not be able to confirm from the cells because, like I said, the cell was filled with soldiers. So maybe probably they might have selected the ones that they feel were the ones they are looking for, and then put in some other, in fact left some soldiers inside the cells. So but I'll not be able to tell you that yes, the cells were emptied and taken away.
Lieutenant, that was not my question. You remember you gave testimony to list out the names of soldiers who were actually loaded onto the truck.
They are not soldiers, officers.
Officers. My apologies. When they were loaded onto the Land Rover, they came back dead.
Okay,
so those are the
okay.
officers that I'm actually referring to.
Yes, ma'am.
You confirmed that all the officers who had been taken out came back dead and they had been killed.
Sorry about that because I had detained, so that is why I was assuming that maybe probably you're talking about the cells. Okay.
That's fine. That's all right. Just a point of clarification. You mentioned that when the Land Rover came in, it was parked near the cookhouse.
Yes.
But then I believe you later said that it was parked near the ante room. Can you just clarify? Where it was parked.
The anteroom and the cookhouse, they're not far away from each other. So a vehicle can be parked, at a position where probably the person looking at it will take reference from any of the two. That is, either you take reference of the cookhouse or take reference of the anteroom. So it's like when a vehicle is parked between these barrier and then the support pole here, You can take reference of the pole to say, well, it's from this pole or from the barrier. So the cookhouse and then the anteroom were are not far away from each other. So it's okay.
That's fine, Lieutenant. What time of the day was this when the Land Rover came with the dead bodies? What time of the day was it?
It was around in the evening, but precisely, actually, I don't know what time exactly. Because when they were leaving, it was in the noon time, around 2, 3. So when they came back, actually, I cannot remember the exact time.
So presumably, these activities of killing the soldiers happened in broad daylight.
Officers.
Officers. I will have to learn to say officers. My apologies, Lieutenant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Can you now tell us what happened after the Land Rover was parked at the near the cookhouse or the anteroom? What happened next?
Like I said, when that wave of movement of soldiers, took place, and then they all gathered around that, and they also went there to see. When I confirmed that exactly the catastrophic have taken place, it was a total black day, and then very sad, beyond my imagination, and I could not stand to continue watching. So I decided to fan back, to retire to my office. It was serious, so very, very serious.
Lieutenant, I'm curious to know why at every point in time when there was either a shooting going on or any kind of significant event happening, you were always found in your office. You gave evidence that normally the soldiers and the men were converging near these events happening, but you always chose to stay away in your office. Can you just tell us why that was the case?
Thank you very much. That question is a very important question. You see, I for one, I said my CEO was the first officer that I had condemning the act of this killing. For me, it was a tactical move. If I was also never part of whatever decision or action, taken by these people, what I was trying to avoid was like, if I should stay in my office without appearing and then disappearing, I will be in danger, because that time some of the people, out of interest and then also gaining recognition, can build a story. That is to say, RSM is always in the office. We don't know why he is always in the office. Maybe probably he's not with us. And he's capable of doing anything. So obviously I cannot stay in the office. That is why I will move out for me to be seen. But at the end of the day, I'll fan back. You understand? Take over. That time, if a word of command is given, get him, you are finished. You are finished. I told you, I was being demoralized, mutilated, in fact, manhandled, coupled with the killing of a very, very close friend of mine, whom I said even his wife, Fatuso, can confirm. So it was a complete black day for me. And for that purpose, I cannot keep remaining in my office. So this is why I appear and disappear to be quite honest.
Lieutenant, you mentioned that it was officers who were killed on that day. Are you saying that there were no soldiers who were part of the those killed? Only officers were killed on November 11th. Is that what you're saying?
Sergeant Fafanyang is a senior NCO. Sergeant Fafanyang is a senior NCO. Then followed by these gentle officers. Thereafter, we have two others. That is EMCC and then Basir Kamara. You know, who were gone down.
You please.
Hmm?
Can you continue?
Yes. So when I fan back to my office, you know, later on, Bashiru Kamara, Bashiru Kamara, and then Sergeant EMCC were also requested by the council that they should be taken out from the cells.
So when all the other officers who had been taken out previously, when the other officers who had been taken out were taken away, there were still people remaining in the cells?
Yes.
They're the only two soldiers remaining in the cells.
Actually, I cannot determine that because the cell was, you know, completely controlled by the that situation there. You know, like the RSM, I have my provosts who were responsible for the cells, but on that day, my provosts were sent out, and the cell was controlled by. Because it's like all the detainees were regarded as state detainees. Because even when we were being locked up, that was the statement they made. We are state detainees. So the cells were controlled by those people. I don't know who was that, but like I said, it was Bachamba who opened the cells for us to come out. So at that time, I don't have any access to the cells to determine whether, you know, they were the very two people who were left there or not, or you still have some soldiers there. So that one I cannot be able to ascertain that.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant. I think this is a good place just to stop your testimony and inquire from the commissioners whether you have any questions for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I hand over the witness to you?
Thank you very much, my counsel, for that, and thank you, Lieutenant Masanya. Are there any questions from any members of the council? Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Lieutenant Sanyang.
Lieutenant Colonel, sir.
Or Lieutenant Colonel.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. From what you have described, it would appear that there was total breakdown of law and order during that period from the 10th and the days following in the army. There was no regard to discipline, and soldiers would just, officers in the higher position would just come and, do as they pleased. Was that the situation?
Sir, very well.
Then, when you were trained as soldiers, were you actually trained as to how you are to use your weapons? Because it appeared that during those periods, the officers chose to use their weapons against their fellow officers and soldiers. Is that what the weapons were supplied to the soldiers for?
Thank you, sir, for your question. To start with the issue of breakdown. Actually, there was a total breakdown, as you mentioned, because at that point in time, some of us, we don't know where the orders were coming from and then who was responsible. But at the end of the day, when the council was out there, then we have our, the army, organogram, where we have a commander out there who should be giving orders for the CEOs to follow up and then give their own instructions. But it was completely dormant. So we were not receiving any instruction, only seeing actions being taken by junior ranks and supported by very powerful elements here and there. And then coming down to the use of weapons, actually soldiers are trained to handle weapons and then make good use of weapons in the line of their duty, provided that there was a lawful order that was passed. Because a soldier, before you release a shot, or even an officer, before you release a shot to aim at either inflicting injury or aim at taking the life of an individual or even an animal, there must have been an order to do that. But looking at the situation in which we found ourselves, people take laws into their own hands, and then because of their position and then their accessibility to power, it happens that it was really unfortunate that things happens like that. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kinte.
Commissioner Kinte, Sanyang, your deliberations seem to corroborate some previous testimony about Fafanyang. One of the testimonies said Fafanyang was asked to climb the truck and see his colleagues. If I recall properly, as he saw them, he was so panicked that he fell back. The other testimony indicated that as he climbed until he was looking at them, he was shot on the back by Edward and he fell down. Both testimonies indicate that Fafa fell around the truck and not away from the truck. Amazingly, you said, and then you also indicated that you saw blood oozing. You did not say you saw the action, but when you came out after the shot, you saw blood oozing from under him. I want to ask, did you see have a good view of his head, and or whether there was also an injury, a blood shot on the head? That's my first question.
Having a clear view means that you have to get closer to the object, or probably the body. But like I said, I just saw the body from a distance. And obviously, yes, I made mention that a truck was parked there, but the activities that took place until the body was there, that one I will not be able to explain. So I did not observe, or it has never came to my mind to, concentrate on particular parts of the body. That is to say, either to look on the head, even from far, what happened to the head, or what happened to the back, or what happened to the chest. No, I only saw the body like that, and then that's it. I felt bad.
Yeah, but then the body was just next to the truck, is it?
Yes.
And that the moment you had the shot, and you're coming out to find the body at the truck, did that take up to 5 minutes or so?
No, it took more than 5. It took I couldn't, but it took more than 5 minutes, because when the shots were fired, I did not jump at that instant.
Okay.
I was in my office. So thereafter, later, in fact, it came to my mind that well, let me go and see what must have happened. So, and then during that time, I assumed that a lot of things must have happened. Whether the body was moved, or immediately when he was shot, that's where he fell down. That's where I found him. Or definitely, I cannot determine that. But it took some time for me to reach at that point.
But around the truck?
Yes,
Okay.
a truck was parked there.
Okay. The second question is, point is, you told us Basiru Kamara and EMC say we are also gone down, this time at the camp itself. But you did not make any narrative so that we see a picture of how they were gone down, if you had any opportunity to see.
Mr. Chairman,
I have not mentioned that during my narration here.
Commissioner Kinte, that question preempts the testimony that is to follow.
Okay.
If you do not mind.
No, I don't. I don't. I don't. The third thing is, when you started counting the names of those you remembered who were taken to the forest, taken away for execution. I remember I was counting along with you, if I am right, put me right, up to 7 persons. But it did not include Lieutenant Aliuba and Lieutenant Abdullah Ba. I'm not sure whether these 7, those 2 will add, because you told us along the corridor you found Lieutenant Aliuba half naked sitting along the corridor with others, and you joined them. I just want to know whether they were included, and did it mean the number went up to 9 or 10 or so?
Sir, a point of correction, sir. I did not mention Aliuba. Maybe probably if I mention it's a slip of tongue. It's Abdullah Ba.
Abdullah Ba, yes.
Called Abchoping.
Yeah.
Yes. During my explanation, I said the people that were taken to the Land Rover. Actually, I don't have a clear view to see them individually. But it's like, it has taken a long time. It's like names that were being called are the ones that I was trying to recall. But definitely, I was not standing neither to determine, according to the list that were being called, to know who was in the Land Rover.
According to your memory, how many people did you think were involved? Were taken?
Sorry, definitely, I cannot remember, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no further questions. We would take the 1-hour break, come back at 2:30 or 2:40. A question? Oh, sorry. Yeah, We'll come back at 2:40, take the 1 hour break, and we will continue with the witness. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.